Cam Thomas is a prolific NBA scorer who has found himself catching minutes here and there, but ultimately not cracking the rotation long term. What's good, Josh? IDK Hoop, and today I want to talk about Cam Thomas and his situation in the Brooklyn Nets. First off, I think the Brooklyn Nets assessed his growth a little bit differently from other players who have shown growth, and I wanted to kind of analyze as to why that is the case. Cam Thomas, when he gets his game off, gets all the notoriety, all the praise, all the highlight tapes, and everybody's wondering, why is he not playing more? Why is Cam Thomas still this player who can barely crack the rotation, especially when the Brooklyn Nets needed perimeter guard scoring, with Dinwiddie not having the most efficient season, with losing Kyrie and James Harden, all these things that have transpired for the Brooklyn Nets. It would seem that Cam Thomas would get in the rotation, but ultimately he hasn't cracked it yet. Though I do think that Cam Thomas is a prolific scorer, I want to talk about the elements of his scoring that make it hard to play a player like that on the court, considering the fact that Cam Thomas's mentality is 1000% to score. The way he scores as well is off the dribble a lot. So a lot of times you have to call plays for him specifically to get his game off. He could score without the ball. It's not like it's not impossible for him to catch and shoot. He's a pretty good catch and shoot player as well. I don't have the numbers in front of me to confirm what the splits are, but he's a pretty good catch and shoot player. And he's an aggressive scorer. So by no means do I think that he can't be Benedict Mathurin on the Indiana Pacers. I think where the gap is, though, scoring wise, is just how efficient and effective Cam Thomas' scoring is. For your starting rotation, you want to make sure that the offense is as fluid as it can be. Also, that the best player is Mikal Bridges, so you want Mikal Bridges getting his game off early, and it kind of conflicts Cam Thomas' strengths because Cam Thomas is somebody who, again, needs the ball in his hands. He needs to have everybody clear out and get him a bucket. Set him a good screen, get him a good look at the basket. His style of scoring, again, may conflict with what Brooklyn does in the grand scheme of things, which is why he's probably not starting, in my opinion. Also, we have to take into account that though Cam Thomas has these explosive games, when he does get into games, sometimes it will be like a 1 for 5, 1 for 7, 2 for 6. It'll be some inefficient splits, and these inefficient splits make the coaching staff just go to other guards that they have. They have Joe Harris, they have Dinwiddie, they have pieces that they can throw out there to replace his talents as well, because those guys can score the ball as well, and they don't need to score with the ball in their hands. Spencer Dinwiddie can set up the offense and spot up and score within space in one-on-one looks away from the ball. And Joe Harris is a sniper shooter, which Cam Thomas isn't either of those archetypes yet to date. And I think when Cam Thomas figures out how to affect the game without the ball in his hands, he'll get more playing time. I want to address his playmaking because Cam Thomas is somebody who's not really known for passing. He averages like 1 or 2 assists pretty much every time he's touched down on a basketball court. And for every explosive game that he has, he doesn't really set up anybody else. It's either Cam Thomas is going for 40 and we're watching, or Cam Thomas is getting 10 shots up and we're watching. So I think going into this season, I think Cam Thomas needs to have that reality check with himself about his ability to distribute the basketball, because I think that will be major key in order for him to solidify himself as the starting shooting guard, is to be able to get 3 assists a night, is to be able to make others around him better, as well as finding his own shot. I think that's just the next step for Cam Thomas in order for him to be more consistent. I know everybody feels the need to have him ride it out and let's see what he can do, but at the same time, when we are considering the fact that, again, Cam Thomas is a younger player, when we consider the fact that Cam Thomas isn't exactly the most efficient scorer. He's not somebody who's going to consistently get you good shooting splits on a night-to-night basis. I think this element of the game improving will make sure that he still in the rotation even when those nights happen, because those nights are bound to happen for any scorer. He's not the only person that suffers from that fate. But again, being able to play with the team more as opposed to figuring out how to get his game off would do him wonders. And I think the playmaking aspect is going to be major key for Cam Thomas to really explode and get his game to where it needs to be. Defensively, a lot of the defense from Cam Thomas is to be desired as well. Again, this isn't somebody who's like 6 foot and undersized. He's a pretty good size at 6'4". So a lot of plays can be made that I feel like Cam Thomas just doesn't really make at his height. Late to contest, bad at navigating screens. These are the things that I've just seen from Cam Thomas through my eyes. And I think this element of the game too would get him to crack the rotation as well. Really sensational player though. Really sensational player. A guy who can really score at all 3 levels. And I think once other aspects of his game round up, he'll then supersede the whole notion of being just this guy who's really talented that cannot crack the rotation. Because again, right now, how Cam Thomas is playing is for Cam Thomas, and it's not for the team's benefit. And the NBA is a business that's predicated on winning, but most importantly, accomplishing the team assignments. That's major key for any NBA team. If I as a coach can't coach you, if I as a coach can't get you to set up my offense as a secondary playmaker at the guard spot, or a tertiary playmaker, bare minimum at the guard spot, because I don't even think Cam Thomas can even be a tertiary playmaker, getting 1 assist a night. Once these things start to round out and we start to see more effort in that aspect of his game, I think we will get the Cam Thomas that we've been anticipating and aspiring for. But until that transpires, we're going to see Cam Thomas more again getting those stints where he gets 30 minutes here, then 8 minutes here, because the way he approaches the game is just simply not cut out for most NBA rotations unless the efficiency goes up. And though I think with volume we might see better efficiency in those games where he is starting off bad, I still believe that the Brooklyn Nets just benefit from playing other guys too, and that's the tough reality. The tough reality is that Spencer Dinwiddie is also really good at basketball and can also do the things that Cam Thomas can do on the basketball court. Above all else, it's Mikal Bridges' team. It's not Cam Thomas' team. And it may sound like I'm hating, but I'm really not. I really want Cam Thomas to figure it out because I really like Cam Thomas' game, and I like how he attacks as a scorer. But how he approaches the game in general is a little bit selfish. And in my opinion, just these tweaks here and there for certain possessions at that could really change the perspective and the narrative of who Cam Thomas is. I know he's a hard competitor, a hard worker. I know that he takes it seriously, so it's not that aspect I'm looking at. It's not his mental, it's not his approach mentally, it's not his demeanor even. He wants to go and get wins as much as possible and contribute to winning as much as possible. But you don't want to fall for the Carmelo dilemma, I will call it, where your mentality hurts the team morale and the team goal here. It's just a simple fact that Mikal Bridges is better and can do a little bit more right now, being that he's more experienced, and that honestly Mikal's a tough guard too. So if it's in the game script for Mikal to get his game off on a night-to-night basis, it's something that Cam Thomas has to consider. If he plays a lot this season, despite what I say, then I'm wrong. And look, I don't know who. This is an uneducated basketball opinion. I don't even have the analytics to back up certain claims of mine. So that's how you know this is very uneducated. But nonetheless, though, I really believe that Cam Thomas can figure it out. And I think Cam Thomas can very easily be a touch-rate playmaker. It doesn't take too much, just literally pass the ball. You don't have to create plays off the dribble to be a touch-rate playmaker. You don't got to be Steve Nash. I'm not saying you look to pass and get like 10 assists tonight. Like, I'm not saying that should be your assignment. You can still go out there and get 20. But if you're going to go out there and get 20, 3 to 4 assists will help the team in the long run as well. And I think that's just the next step for Cam Thomas's game. I think that's the whole Cam Thomas conundrum. It's been real, guys. More content coming soon. Got the podcast on the works with my top 50. It's been IDK Hoop.